4-0, which was incredible.
Right, so definitely come out. I mean, you just watch that video, learn some cool tips. Definitely come out.
Yeah, guys, and it looks like we're actually about to be stepping into the next match here. We have two trainers. This is going to be a big global battle here. I believe we have a German player going up against a Japanese player. So it's going to be, I think it's Lajos. Is that how you say it? Layo. I apologize, Layo. Going up against Daiichi. And it's gonna be a big one, man. They got the two very, very strong teams here that I see in front of me. We can talk about them real quick while they jump into the match. Maybe let's talk about Lyo's team. It's gonna be Gardevoir, Landorus, Rotom. We got Heatran in there, Hydreigon, and Amoonguss. So some really strong Pokemon that we've seen.
Pretty standard team right there. You do see Gardevoir, and Gardevoir is a very popular Mega Pokemon nowadays. After its success at the United States Nationals, of course, one of the countries that loved Gardevoir before the United States Nationals was Japan. So definitely Daiichi is going to know how to deal with the Gardevoir a lot better than other countries might be able to.
Yeah, that was very, very popular, like you said in the format. It just really came back. It felt like Gardevoir was so strong in the beginning. We saw a lot of Hyper Voice. It's just a powerful Pokemon, and then kind of faded out and then came right back. I think we are jumping into the match here. Both players should be choosing their team here on Team Preview. And yes, we do have the players right here. It's going to be, I think you said Layo on the left there. It looks like we have a little different name there. And then we got Daiichi on the right there. So we got those two guys up there. But actually, we can see Daiichi's team, I think, on screen here. It's going to be Gardevoir, Landorus, Heatran, Thundurus, Tyranitar, and Amoonguss. So two kind of similar teams here. I'm seeing about 3 or 4 common Pokemon.
Yeah, we do see Mega Gardevoir there on Daiichi's team. Those are going to be... that's going to be a duel. That was actually the duel at United States Nationals between the two finalists. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go. Layo, of course, hailing from Germany. He's representing his country so proudly. And Daiichi, hailing from Japan, representing his country so proudly as well. Going to try to do as much as they can in this matchup. We do see Hydreigon out on Layo's side. Of course, Hydreigon is a Pokemon that we don't see too often anymore. I still think it's a pretty decent dragon to be using. However, fairy typing, that kind of hindered how well Hydreigon can do, because fairies pretty much hard counter those Hydreigons. We see Heatran. Those are common Pokemon. Amoonguss is also a shared Pokemon. Landorus, of course, a shared Pokemon right there between the two players as well. The only differences we see here is that, Wash Rotom and Thundurus are the electric types of each player's choice.
And it looks like we're about to jump into this battle here. I believe Daiichi will be challenging the opponent there, and we're going to lead with the Gardevoir Landorus here. And Layo on the bottom is with Gardevoir and Wash Rotom.
And a pretty decent matchup right now for Layo, I believe, because that Landorus is going to, go for Intimidate onto nothing, essentially, as we see Gardevoir going to go ahead and go for the Trace and pick up the Intimidate, actually. And I believe Gardevoir on Daiichi's side actually just picks up Levitate, which can be helpful, but I feel like, Layo just ended up winning that trade right there with the Traces. Washroom, of course, going to be able to threaten that Landorus and do a lot of damage with the powerful Hydro Pump, as Mega Gardevoir probably going to make an appearance here on Layo and Daiichi's side.
Exactly, Dewey. So both trainers staring each other down here, taking up a little bit of time making these first crucial moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Rotom, of course, Hydro Pump into the Landorus, and then Gardevoir going to be able to go for Hyper Voices possibly.
All right, we see the switch here for Layo there. Bringing in the Heatran here, should be able to take a decent attack here, hoping that there's no Earthquake early on, unless he's got that balloon on him. Mega Gardevoir now coming out for Layo as well. And let's see if we're going to get Mega Gardevoir as well for Daiichi here, setting up now. And that's we got a little bit of a mirror match going on right here. And a Protect now from Layo on the bottom screen. And it looks like it will be a Rock Slide, so a great prediction there. Shouldn't do too much damage to Heatran, who really is able to absorb that attack. And from Gardevoir, a Hyper Voice Heatran, also really resisting that. I believe 4 times resistant.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to note that Layo decided to switch out his Wash Rotom into a Heatran. Of course, Heatran does not enjoy facing off against Landorus most of the time. Of course, Landorus are known to carry choice items. Of course, we've also seen that Assault Vests are also heavily popular nowadays. So maybe that Landorus might be locked into Rock Slide, so that might be a good position for Heatran because, as you said before, Heatran is going to be able to do a lot of work against Gardevoir because Heatran resists most of Gardevoir's same type attack bonus attacks.
Exactly. Do we? Yeah. I mean, items are such a crucial part of the game here, so it's going to be really important for these 2 players to get some information here.
Yeah, and going into this turn, we see Gardevoir go ahead and go for the switch.
Yeah, it's a big one there for Daiichi. Hopefully, not too risky of a switch on this one. We do see D Thunderous coming in here, and we're going to get a little berry action. Oh, on that Earthquake, I do think that the Heatran's going to be able to take this one. Gardevoir losing quite a bit of health as well. Down into the red is Heatran. Gardevoir holds on and hits back with a Hyper Voice of her own and does a ton of damage there to the Thunderous that is hanging on in the yellow, but does get the Citrus Berry there, and it's going to go ahead and get 1/4 of its health back.
And I believe we saw an Earth Power into the into one of those slots right there. Layo probably trying to make a move right there to kind of get an advantage. We do see the Hyper Voice not do 50% to that Landorus Therian. That's going to be huge because now Gardevoir has to go for possibly 3 Hyper Voices to knock out Landorus Therian. That's going to be a very bulky Landorus Therian. I would not be surprised to see if that was Assault Vest. We did see it switch from Rock Slide to Earthquake, so most likely that is going to be Assault Vest set.
No, it's a great catch there. Landorus became relatively predictable eventually because so many people were running choice items on it that no one ever got worried anymore. It's like, okay, well, it's Rock Slide. I guess it'll be Rock Slide the whole time. But we do see a lot more players having more choices available to them by using Assault Vests or other items. And the switch out to Gardevoir, or the switch out of Gardevoir for Layo on the bottom there, bringing in the Wash Rotom again. And a Protect now, maybe thinking there might be another Earthquake going down on the field here, and it's going to be a Swagger, I think, onto that Rotom here. Going to raise its attack, but also confuse it at the same time. So that's a good play onto those special attackers. And it does appear that was an Earthquake there with a Protect, of course, on the Heatran, and Rotom's got Levitate, so no worries there.
Essentially a free switch right there from Layo to get in, although at the cost of getting swaggered. So now Wash Rotom's going to have to play a game where is it going to be able to move through this confusion, but we just see Rotom switch, does not want to deal with any of those confusion checks at all. Yeah,
gets it right out of there, and switching into a Landorus of his own on the bottom screen there. We'll get off some Intimidates. It's going to be pretty nice to get Intimidate onto Daiichi's Landorus. There will reduce its attack by 1 stage, and this Rock Slide's gonna not hit too hard. Heatran might be able to take it. Yes, Heatran hanging on with 13 hit points, and then the Thunderbolt finishing them off, but does get that almost free switch into Landorus.
Yeah, the huge thing right there was definitely that Intimidate to go for that Landorus again. Now Landorus on Daiichi's side is going to be at 2 stages of reduced special attack. Gardevoir does come in right now and will be able to take some attacks right there. Gardevoir, of course, has immense special bulk. Of course, Landorus Therian on Daiichi's side has been intimidated twice, as I've mentioned before, which means that Gardevoir might be able to take another attack and go for a Hyper Voice right here, which could be very helpful towards Layo's side in board position.
Yeah, again, great call on the Intimidate. Should give this Gardevoir just enough health to make it here. We do see the Thunder Wave onto that Gardevoir slot now, so looking to maybe get some paralysis here. Could be big. Let's see what we get from both of our trainers. A nice Rock Slide outspeeding the Landorus of Daiichi there. And might be picking up the feint on Thunderous. Yes, it's going to feint and go back to its trainer there. And we should see a move here from that. And it looks like it's a knockoff going into that slot of Layo's. Oh, and the paralysis. Oh my gosh. That is absolutely rough on that Gardevoir, who might have been able to pick up the feint here.
Yeah, and we do see the knockoff from Daiichi's Landorus onto Layo's Landorus, and it does reveal the choice band, which definitely explains that damage output onto that Thunderous that picked up the knockout there, as we see Gardevoir switch back in. So good information right there from Daiichi to to pick up for future games, and also to weaken Landorus' damage output. So right now, Landorus without its item, it's not going to be able to do that much damage. But at the same time, now Landorus can freely switch its moves. So it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, that is interesting. Sometimes when you get that knocked off, you're like, thank you so much. But yeah, so we did see it outspeed last time, so maybe it will. Again, not sure, but that could be just enough to manage to get the feint here and maybe look for a little flinch onto this Gardevoir. So let's see how much damage it's going to do now. Will it be enough to get rid of it? Yes, he does pick up the feint on Daiichi's Landorus there. It's going to go back to its trainer here, and will Gardevoir be able to hit through it is the question. Yes, it does. No flinch there. Hyper Voice into both of these Pokemon who barely hang on in the red. Oh no! The look on Lajos' face as he sees the paralysis of his Gardevoir.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate again, but you know, Landorus is still on the field, so it's not too bad of a situation for Lajo as we see Heatran come back in. Unfortunately, right now, you know, Landorus isn't in the best position because it's going to get knocked out regardless, right?
Yes.
And it has to go for an Earthquake if it wants to try to hit this Heatran, but you know, Daiichi's probably seeing that already and probably wants to try to protect this Heatran a bit more, and it's going to come down to mind games. What is this Heatran going to do here? Is it going to protect? Is it going to go offensive? What is it going to decide to do?
This could essentially be the turn of the game here. It's going to come down to a big prediction. If maybe even a potential flinch, because like you said, it really most likely will be a protect here from Daiichi, simply because of that Earthquake threat there. So here we go, a protect on Gardevoir, and will it be a double is the question. All right, a protect for Gardevoir there from Lajo, and we're going to go ahead and get some moves. Oh, it looks like there it is. The Earthquake does come out here, and we see the Berry going to go ahead and resist this big time and make the Heatran stay in there in the yellow. Oh my gosh, but who does Heatran target? Oh my gosh.
The Heat Wave miss.
Yeah,
the Heat Wave miss.
That was huge.
So Daiichi right there made the right play. You know, he knew that he had to get rid of that Landorus to keep Heatran out on the field. Gardevoir does stay on the field for both sides, on Lajo and Daiichi's side. Good recognition right there from Daiichi to preserve that Gardevoir to preserve that Gardevoir to allow it to combat with that Washroom that's about to come in right now.
And we do see, yes, the switch out. Great call there, Dwee. And the protect now onto the Heatran here. And it looks like Gardevoir's going to, of course, outspeed that paralyzed Gardevoir. Does a ton of damage to Rotom, though. Wow, Rotom, usually a very, very bulky Pokemon, almost down 50%.
I don't mind the position that Daiichi's in right now. You know, Landorus is heavily damaged, Rotom is heavily damaged, but the issue is Gardevoir on Daiichi's side is the key to victory right now because it's so powerful. It's going to be able to outspeed that Landorus, of course, depending on how both those Pokemon are trained. So it's going to come down to the wire right here. How much damage can this Landorus do to Gardevoir if it can even move before that Gardevoir?
We're not sure. We saw the Gardevoir protect last time, so we didn't get any reveals as far as their speed training is concerned. This could be big. It definitely going to be another huge turn for this matchup with both trainers only having 2 Pokemon left.
Yeah, and you know, Wash Rotom is going to get knocked out, possibly from a Hyper Voice, so it's still close. We do see the Earthquake here. Yep. That's going to do a lot of damage.
That is going to be big. It's going to pick up the feint on Heatran here and take Gardevoir down into the yellow. But let's see what Gardevoir decides to do. Is it going to be a Hyper Voice for a lot of damage there? It does pick up the feint. Rotom hangs on with 2 hit points. Oh my gosh. There goes the Citrus Berry for Rotom now, and picks up that feint on the Landorus there. Let's see what we get from Rotom.
Electro Web. Gonna lower Gardevoir's speed right there. That's a huge play right there from Lajo.
Daiichi not liking that at all.
No, and right now I think this Washroom might be able to outspeed this Gardevoir and be able to pick up the knockout. That's gonna be big right there, and a big move right there from Lajo.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. I think surprising a lot of people here seeing that move there, but a lot of information given. Oh my gosh, the avoid of the attack here, and Gardevoir's going to hit back with a Hyper Voice that should definitely pick up the feint here. Oh my gosh, after the incredible play there, unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know, that was such a huge miss right there, although I believe it was the Hydro Pump that came out of Lajo's Wash Rotom right there, just to make sure it had enough damage to be able to pick up that knockout on Gardevoir. Like I said, Gardevoir is a very specially bulky Pokemon. Mm-hmm. You know, that Electro Web, that second Electro Web might not have been able to pick up the knockout, so Lajo wanted to make sure that he was able to pick up the knockout, but we see that Hydro Pump missed, and that is unfortunate. You know, that's that's sometimes why you kind of want to run as accurate moves as you can, but definitely not a bad position for Lajo. Lajo knows that he now does have the pieces to be able to take Daiichi to such a close match.
Definitely. It's all there. It's all there, obviously, for both players. It's going to come down to decisions. Very interesting seeing the two teams very, very similar, yet they kind of brought their different Pokemon in that one. They didn't mirror match at all.
Yeah, and we see Rotom have some sort of speed control. Usually, Rotoms do enjoy using Thunder Wave as their main form of speed control, but Electro Web does do some damage too. So, interesting thing to note that is probably going to be Lajo's Wash Rotom's, his same type attack bonus, electric type attack of choice.
Yeah, and that was really, really interesting there that he had that move, and it looked like it was the right call. You just Hydro Pump is these matches are high risk, high reward, right? A Hydro Pump I would consider and actually a high risk move. Anything that's not 100%, I feel like is a high risk move, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. I do feel like Lajo has the right moveset, can pull this one off. He's just going to have Lady Luck on his side.
Yeah, and a lot of information right there was revealed. The Shuka Berry on that heat run is going to be big for Lajo to know that Earthquake will not be able to pick up the one-hit knockout on that heat run on Daiichi's side. At the same time, I believe the berry was also revealed on... Did we see Heatran on Lajo's side?
Yes, I do believe they both actually were holding on to potentially Shuka Berries, I think is what we saw there. So no air balloons, earthquakes all around for everybody, but they should be able to take that, of course, reducing the attack damage of that super effective move.
Yeah, and Landorus, of course, is going to want to hold on to that choice band on Lajo's side, so going to be interesting to see how this second game plays out.
And it looks like we get a Landorus Gardevoir lead here for Lajo, and Daiichi leading with the same Pokemon as well. Intimidate's going to be fired off from both players here. Now, it will be interesting to see what traces we might get.
I'll probably Intimidate somewhere.
That is probably what's going to happen. There it is, huh? Another Intimidate going on. So Landorus essentially pretty much out of the game after one turn there.
That's right. Both Landoruses right now have 2 stages of decreased attack.
Yes.
And that's going to be unfortunate. Although, again, the Assault Vest on Daiichi's is going to make sure that, Daiichi's is not going to be doing as much damage as the choice band that Lajo is carrying. So Lajo out there still kind of takes a bit of an advantage because, he does have that item that gives himself an extra boost when he attacks.
Yes. I agree with you there. It looks like they're taking a lot of time on this particular turn. Obviously, the last match was full of question marks, and this time it seems like even more. Now that you know what your opponent has, it's like, well, now I know what they can do, so I got to second guess myself. It's really tough there. It looks like Daiichi decides to switch out that Landorus there, realizing that really at that point he's not going to be able to do too much damage. Goes into a pretty safe switch of Amoonguss, potentially, depending on what this Gardevoir has chosen. We do see the Mega now for Lajo. On the bottom screen there, and will we see the Mega now? Yes, of course, for Daiichi. Both trainers bringing out their Megas early. And it looks like it's going to be a U-turn right there. Wow, managing to really tank that attack. Amoonguss says, no thank you, and oh, that's right. Of course, we got the double Intimidate there, and Lajo is going to go ahead and get a little advantage here. You get to see who your opponent switched in, so you get to kind of choose maybe a counter Pokemon. It is going to be Amoonguss of his own. So full-on mirror match at the beginning of the game. Yeah,
that's definitely interesting. Oh, and the Trick Room comes up, but Daiichi's, I think, is going for another Trick Room too.
No way. Is this what's about to... Wait a second here. Oh my gosh, interesting play from both of our trainers.
I don't think anything changed at all. I mean, I think the damage so far has been pretty similar on both sides. Amoonguss got chipped a little bit from that U-turn, but of course Amoonguss chipped back that Landorus with that Rocky Helmet. So both players kind of playing similarly right now. I think they might have probably talked about the teams or something like that beforehand if they're doing these moves exactly the same.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting there. Both of them decide Landorus is gone and Amoonguss is coming in. Oh man! Now who's the faster Amoonguss? It all comes down. Who's the faster Amoonguss here? Because I believe Amoonguss can be relatively bulky, might be able to take a Psychic here, but maybe with Mega Gardevoir, depending on the training, could get hit pretty hard. We do see the switch out for Daiichi there on the top, and we're going to get the switch in of Landorus here. Will be, of course, another 2 Intimidates as we wait for their reduced attack. And then we're going to get some moves here. It looks like it is going to be a Psychic into that slot, doing a ton of damage to most likely that I think Assault Vested Landorus there. But whoa, a Psychic doing huge damage to Amoonguss, being able to take it like a boss and getting that Spore down onto the Gardevoir, which might be the bigger threat to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Gardevoir was the Pokemon that gave Layo a lot of problems in the last game. So we do see that Psychic do a lot of damage to that Landorus, and I think it might now actually be in range to get knocked out by a Hyper Voice from Layo's Gardevoir. Good move right there for Amoonguss to stay in and go for the Spore onto that Gardevoir, which, as I said earlier, Layo was having a lot of difficulty dealing with in Game 1. Now it's going to be a bit more manageable for Layo because now he can easily just go for the Hyper Voice, possibly pick up the knockout on this Landorus right here because, Gardevoir hasn't taken any damage at all. Possibly switch out this Amoonguss, go into Landorus of his own on Layo's side to, go for another Intimidate just to make sure that that Gardevoir does get to stay around a bit longer and, start damaging that Gardevoir on Daiichi's side. It has been Spored, put to sleep, which means that it's going to be sleeping for at least this turn for sure since Amoonguss went after it.
It's essentially a free turn of damage into that slot, really. If something switches in, it's taking damage. If Gardevoir stays in, it's taking damage. We do see the switch here back into Landorus for Layo there on the bottom screen. Great call. Going to go ahead and reduce this Landorus' attack by one stage here, so already putting him in a pretty decent position there. We're going to go ahead and see the knockoff, now knocking off that choice item there on the bottom screen. And here it is, the Hyper Voice picking up the feint on Landorus and doing almost 50% damage to Gardevoir.
Yeah, and that was a good turn right there from Layo's side. He does lose the choice band on that Landorus, and that's going to be unfortunate, but the position right now for Layo, in my opinion, is a lot better. A Hyper Voice and a Rock Slide should be able to do enough damage to pick up the knockout on Daiichi's Gardevoir, but, Daiichi, of course, probably not going to want to sacrifice that Gardevoir so early in this game.
And we do see the switch into Amoonguss here now, kind of at risk, especially with Gardevoir still on the field here. But there might be an interesting choice here. Do you just go for the all-out assault on the Amoonguss here, or do you continue with the Hyper Voice getting that spread damage?
I think the better option right here might actually be to go for an Earthquake and protect that Gardevoir on Layo's side.
Good
go
call.
for the Earthquake. I think that Earthquake should be enough to take out that Gardevoir. But of course, Daiichi, again, he probably doesn't want to sacrifice that Gardevoir just yet.
Yeah, no, we could definitely see a switch here, or do you risk it and just go with the Protect and hope that it's a turn 2 wake up?
Maybe. I mean, we have seen the Landorus move before Gardevoir before in Game 1. Again, information from Game 1 being absolutely vital to, how you play in Game 2. And I think Layo made some pretty good adjustments this game, and I think he has the upper hand right now.
And it is a Protect from Gardevoir. She wakes up. Wow, turn 2, look out. Here we go. And it's going to be another Rock Slide here into that Amoonguss, because Gardevoir, of course, protected, won't be taking any damage here. And there is the Psychic, so a nice, essentially a double up into that slot, and does manage to pick up the feint here on the Amoonguss. That was an absolutely huge move by Layo, who we're here getting some applause from the crowd there.
Yeah, and Amoonguss going down is going to be so big. I think Daiichi was pretty sure that Gardevoir would be content with going for a Hyper Voice right there, but Layo knows that Amoonguss is a very dangerous Pokemon, does not want a sleeping Gardevoir, does not want a sleeping Landorus, so good call right there from Layo to target down that Amoonguss.
And now with the choice item knocked off, Earthquakes can be pretty brutal in this situation with Tyranitar coming on the field.
I'm from California, so I like seeing. I don't like seeing the earthquakes, but an earthquake's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can feel it.
Somebody get this man a job. Geologist Dwee.
So, Gardevoir can stay in, go for Hyper Voices. Tyranitar will not enjoy taking those either, so we do see Gardevoir protect.
No, it's an interesting call here from Layo on the bottom screen there. And there it is. Actually, we do get that Earthquake. It should do damage to both of these Pokemon here. And wow, both of them able to take it here. We could see a big hit back here for Daiichi. It's going to be a Hyper Voice, and will be enough just to drop it alone. No, down with 5 hit points. Who did Tyranitar try and attack? It's going to be a Rock Slide. It does connect, and we will see the Landorus fall here, but it still looks to be a good position for Layo.
Yeah, and we see the Life Orb right there on that Tyranitar, and, sand damage is going to happen, and I think Gardevoir on Daiichi's side might get knocked out. It does get knocked out.
Oh, no, just enough to get rid of that Gardevoir here, and Tyranitar is not going to like facing off against Gardevoir.
Yeah, and, Gardevoir is in good position to just finish it off, and we do see Amoonguss come in, but, I just want to say, well played from Layo this game in comparison to Game 1.
Oh, definitely made some really, really great calls. He made a lot of great calls in game one as well. You know, just some things didn't work out in his favor. We get the hyper voice here, and it looks like Lajo's going to go ahead and even the game. That is absolutely huge. I mean, we're in the World Championships right now. He's taking it to a game 3. Both trainers fighting for their tournament lives at this point. I believe they're both at 3-1. I'm not positive on that one, but I would definitely say that every win is crucial.
Right, and they are 3-1. Whoever loses this match can still make it to the top cut, but you know, instead of having your fate in your own hand and how you play, you're going to be relying on your opponent's win percentage instead, and that's something that you don't want to sit on. You know, you want to know that I made top cut on my own accord, and you know, I've lost because, you know, well, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you never want to leave it up to the judges, as they say sometimes in boxing. Don't let the judges decide, right? So don't let the resistance decide in this tournament. It's the World Championships. You really got to win it out early. It's big time.
As many wins as you can get, you know, when you want to secure your trip to the top cut and take a part of that prize money, you know, that precious prize money that we have.
Of course, there's prize money on the line here. There's bragging rights. You're fighting for your country out here. Everything. There's a lot on the line for these players.
I think one thing that Daiichi's going to want to try to do coming up into Game 3 is definitely have some speed control or a better way to deal with that Gardevoir on Lajo's side. You know, it appears that what's happening in these matches is that Gardevoir is the problem Pokemon in each game. Lajo's Gardevoir was the problem in Game 2. Daiichi's Gardevoir was the problem in Game 1.
Yeah, it's really all coming down to the Mega Pokemon's so strong.
Right.
I was going to say in this format, but really in any format. they get those stat boosts and they become serious threats. So it's going to be time to figure out how to get rid of it.
Yeah, and you know, Lajo's Gardevoir was able to pick up the knockout on Amoonguss with a very powerful sidekick. I'm not sure if that's because of difference in training or because of the little bit of chip damage that Landers was able to do to that Amoonguss beforehand.
I want to say Lajo's Gardevoir ended up doing more damage to that Amoonguss, to the Amoonguss of Daiichi, as opposed to Daiichi's Gardevoir versus the Amoonguss of Lajo.
Right. Again, it all comes down to, you know, how those players have trained their Pokemon up.
Exactly. So let's see what the leads are here. Actually, switching it up a little bit is Daiichi, who brought the Landers again, but this time Heatran out on the field there, who will put this Gardevoir essentially in check here. Lajo, of course, taking some intimidates, now leading with the Landers and Gardevoir. And let's see what we get from both trainers here. Gardevoir going to go ahead and get that Intimidate trace. So pretty good. Not the best position there with a Heatran on the field. I mean, we could see an early Earthquake. So actually a lot of checks and balances from both sides of the field.
Yeah, that Intimidate, again, we saw it paid off huge for Daiichi because of the Shuka Bear and Heatran. You know, that's going to prevent Heatran from getting knocked out from this Choice Band and Landorus. Otherwise, it would do a lot of damage and might even be able to pick up the knockout. You know, maybe Lajo felt that Shuka Bear Heatran was a big threat coming into Worlds and decided to train his Landers to be able to pick up knockouts through Shuka Bears with the Choice Band. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, how this plays out, because both players right now are trying to, you know, tournament life is almost at stake here.
Definitely. I mean, will that Intimidate play a factor with 9 seconds left to lock in these moves here? Both trainers taking it down to the wire, absolutely, and you never want to take the risk of a possible critical hit.
Oh, no, absolutely.
That could be it. So maybe protect the Landers here. I'm not exactly sure. Protect the Heatran here. I'm not exactly sure what these players are going to choose. It actually is a Rock Slide here, maybe looking for a flinch. We do see it hit both slots. It's going to be a Rock Slide right back from Daiichi, and both trainers staring at their screens, waiting for the next move to happen. It's going to be a Hyper Voice doing a decent amount of damage here to Landers, but Heatran really able to take it, and the Heatran manages to get off a Hidden Power, doing a ton of damage here to the Landers of Lajo, and it does pick up the feint, and it will go back to its trainer.
That is a good move right there from Daiichi. Hidden Power, not a common move that we see on Heatran, and definitely probably took Lajo by surprise. I mean, being able to pick up that one-hit knockout on Pokemon that usually is a counter to Heatran, so that's huge.
Yeah, that was really, really big there. Heatran now in really good position. Lajo's got to be worried without having Earthquake available to him anymore. This Heatran could get very, very scary.
He could possibly have Rotoman back. You know, that could help deal with that Heatran a lot easier. Of course, right now, Gardevoir is going to be threatening this Landers Therian out on the field. Of course, Amoonguss can play a bit of a support role right now, could easily go for a Spore. One thing to note for Lajo is that Heatran has, well, we haven't really seen it move, right? But we've seen Ice-type Hidden Power. Usually Heatrans tend to carry a Fire-type attack, you know, either a Steel or a Ground-type attack, and then Protect, so maybe it doesn't have Substitute.
Yeah, very, very true here. We do see the switch out, maybe trying to bait something there for Layo, and into the Heatran. So we see the fourth and final Pokemon of Layo on the bottom screen there. It looks like it's going to be a Protect from Heatran. And a Rock Tomb onto that Gardevoir. Going to go ahead and slow it down.
Again, just trying to mitigate the situation, try to slow down this Gardevoir, and we do see Gardevoir go for the Hyper Voice. Going to be able to pick up a knockout on that Landorus, so definitely. Huge knockout.
Yeah, doing some really nice damage there to those Pokemon. Gardevoir so strong, especially in Mega Form, and Layo getting that free switch into into Heatran.
Right, and I see what Layo tried to do there. I mean, have that Amoonguss come in after his Landorus got knocked out, bait the Heat Wave, and switch in that Heatran to try to get a free Flash Fire boost right there. So good call right there from Layo. Unfortunately, Daiichi did not fall for it.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, Dwee. So we do see the Gardevoir come in for Daiichi, who is not Mega yet. So could that play something in this game? Oh, and the switch out now for Layo on the bottom. Looks like it's going to be the Amoonguss coming back out here. An interesting team up here. Do you use the Heat Wave and give the boost?
That's definitely a tough decision for Daiichi. I mean, Amoonguss is a problem Pokemon, but Gardevoir can also help deal with it.
Oh, it looks like we get a little berry action there with the Earth Power. Will it be enough to pick up the Feint through the berry? No! Heatran hanging on in the red. And Gardevoir now hitting with a Hyper Voice. Amoonguss able to resist that one pretty well there. Amoonguss, typically trained very, very bulky. And we do see the berry now as well for the Heatran, who also falls almost all the way to the red there.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was a speed tie right there between these two Heatrans, but that's going to be a thing to note, I guess, because you don't want your Heatran to lose a speed tie and get knocked
Definitely
out.
Not.
Layo might want to play it a bit safe here. Good switch right there to get that Amoonguss in to take that Hyper Voice like a champion instead of allowing his Gardevoir to take a lot more damage, and also resets Gardevoir's speed stat drop from that Rock Tomb.
Yeah, exactly. Do a good call there on that switch. So now Amoonguss in here, looking like that Heatran is one hit away from fainting. So Layo seems to be in a pretty good position, actually turning around maybe a kind of an early loss into what might be a nice even set.
Yeah, and one thing to note, I don't think we've seen Daiichi's fourth Pokemon just
No,
yet,
we have
right?
not. No, that could be big.
And we do see Heatran switch out. We're going to see his fourth Pokemon right now.
I believe so. What is it going to be for Daiichi? And it is Thundurus here. Oh, and the switch as well from Layo back into Gardevoir. Interesting play from both of our trainers here. And there it is, a Psychic. Gardevoir really able to absorb that attack there for the Amoonguss. So great switch from Layo.
And also a great switch right there from Daiichi to avoid that Earth Power, to preserve his Heatran a bit longer. And now, Pokemon on Layo's side are both heavily damaged, and Thundurus is going to be able to play a very good support role right here. It can easily swagger either of Layo's Pokemon, Heatran or Gardevoir, to try to prevent one Pokemon from moving this turn. Could also go for a Thunder Wave to try to slow down Layo's Pokemon and put himself in a better position to take a victory.
No, that was absolutely huge. We didn't know what that fourth Pokemon was going to be, and that's what's so nice about being able to hold on to your Pokemon really until the end of a set. You can end up really surprising your opponent.
Yeah, and I think Heatran, in hindsight, probably wanted to go for a Heat Wave right there, but, you can't really predict that. You don't want to give the Heatran on Daiichi's side a free Flash Fire boost either.
Definitely not. We see the speed here of Layo's Gardevoir doing a ton of damage with a Hyper Voice. Getting the Citrus Berry is Thundurus there for Daiichi, and Gardevoir hanging on just at about 50% here. And looks like, I think we see an attack there into the protecting Heatran, but we do get a Hyper Voice and picks up the feint on Layo's Gardevoir, and we will see the Amoonguss come back out onto the field here.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough decision right now. Amoonguss can be taunted by this Thundurus, so Daiichi in a very good position right now to kind of finish it off. Unfortunately, I believe this Gardevoir is going to be outspeeding this Heatran, and that's going to be unfortunate because it's just a tough position for Layo to be in because Heatran's heavily damaged. Amoonguss can probably take a Psychic, but of course it can also be taunted. And, it already protected last turn, so unless Layo can go for double protect, I think that is currently his best option, but Layo's outs are looking a bit slim right here.
Yeah, we do see the protect here on the Amoonguss, and unless that Heatran has two items on it and is carrying Bright Powder, I think he's going to pick up the feint there, and yes, we will see the Heatran drop and go back to Layo. who played really well in these matches here. Sometimes things just don't go your way, and it's the World Championships. Everyone's playing at the next level. You're going to see players that you think should win the World Championships just end up taking losses.
Right, and that was a great redirect there from Daiichi to just go ahead and put pressure on that heat ran. Of course, Layo now knowing that his option back then was to just go for that double protect onto that heat ran to try to preserve heat ran and allow Mungus to be able to go for a spore. Hindsight is 2020, but
of course,
both players played an amazing set, and congratulations to both players for making it this far in the first place.
Absolutely huge. The day not over for either. For either trainer there, Daiichi breathing a sigh of relief after that one. It was a very close call. And that was a really awesome match. I had a lot of fun there. Definitely now the resistance for Layo is going to be a little bit more difficult, but if he can win out the day, he's definitely putting himself in a really good chance to make it to the top cut.
Yeah, and Layo's one player that I've always been wanting to see a lot of. I've heard a lot about him, his play style. He's built some really amazing teams, and he's just an absolute fantastic player. But it's just unfortunate that Daiichi played a little bit better right there. Took it out in a very close series, and both players definitely deserve to be in the top cut. But I could say that about a lot of players out in the field right now. I mean, it's a really difficult field out there.
It really is, and it was kind of interesting. The match that we just saw, of course, it was a pretty mirror matchy there. But we saw how the different training really affected each one. We saw the hyper voices from Layo doing a little bit more damage than the hyper voices from Daiichi there. We saw the berries on the Pokemon, but we saw how diverse Landers can be, right, with the Assault Vest versus the Choice item.
Yeah, and